Welcome to Art's Place, conservative talk from a different view, from the Casablanca studio in Golden, Colorado. Hosted by Art Carlson. At 4'6", liberals fear him, and conservatives love him. He's definitely a giant among men. Now here's your host, Art Carlson.
Yeah, I'm back. We're back. Welcome to another episode of Art's Place, conservative talk from a different view. We've got a great show today. Lloyd is back. Also, Mike Roach is going to be joining us in a bit. We've got some great topics today. We're going to talk about that bizarre press conference that Joe Biden had earlier this week, and boy, what a doozy that was. And then we're going to talk about the shooting at in Boulder, Colorado, at the King Soopers up there. We'll talk a little bit about that, and we'll also talk about. Let's see, look at my notes here. I know I have something else. Oh yeah, the little boat that's stuck in the Suez canal. We'll talk about the implications to all that. So let's get right into it. Let's bring up my co-host, Lloyd Mendenhall, all the way from Muskogee, Oklahoma. Hello, Lloyd.
Hey, Art. Not to be confused with Muskogee, Oklahoma, which is where I flew with Doc Murdoch the other day. Well, that's where he said we were. He called it Muskogee. Okay. And then,
that's right next to Muskogee.
Yeah, right next to Muskogee. Yeah. It's, yeah. And then Kelly Shores called it Muskogee on his show the other night. He said, no, it's Muskogee. And then tried to sing this song, which Kelly really needs to stick with his day job.
Yeah, even barking dogs agree.
Yeah, they're springtime. I don't know. The neighbors over here it's actually behind me over here. It doesn't look that the way I'm pointing, but that's the back of my house. They seem to think it's a good idea to let their kids go outside and play. I mean, why can't they be good parents and set them in front of the TV and let them play video games? It wouldn't be bothering my dogs then. Mm-hmm. But a little snot's got to play in the backyard,
Yeah.
Well, what can you do?
Rough day.
It's a rough day, yes.
All right, without further ado, all the way from Syracuse, New York, our other co-host, the triumvirate of conservatism. Let's welcome Mike Roach. Welcome, Mike. Good to see you.
Hey, guys. Good to see you both.
Hey, Mike.
How's it going?
Well,
I'm here.
Got sunburned last week from all that fishing I did in Florida. Did some flying. Had a blast down there.
But I heard you didn't like that fish you caught, though.
No.
You really blew.
It would have been nicer if there was a guy fishing off the bridge right next to me that caught a huge redfish. It would have been nice if I could have hooked into maybe, a medium-sized one would have been okay.
No, it would have been cool if you caught a blowfish, right?
Yeah, actually it's a puffer.
Puffer, right. If you caught somehow saved it and, had it,
mounted and made into
or whatever,
a
puffed up. Because you don't see them around.
No.
Well, it's a type of porcupine fish. Normally, the kind that you see, they have the spines that stick straight out, but these had the hook-shaped spines on it.
Wow.
That
so
way,
they're curved back into their body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That way, if a fish tries to swallow it, those spines will stick up, and
Right.
it'll get stuck because it can only go one way.
Oof. Yeah, that would suck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Or like goat heads or stuff, or cockleburrs or something. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
The cocklebur of the fish world.
so
I
well, I'm
did
glad
see
you had
it.
a good time down there in Art in
Yes.
Florida. I hope you had a good time in Florida.
Oh yeah, I had a
Looked like
great time
everybody
meeting
did.
all the new faces. Well, in person, all the people that I know from YouTube. I finally get to see what their faces look like, because
Yeah.
most of them are, you just see their YouTube channel name,
Right.
and that's
Yeah.
it. Hmm.
So many people, I know the YouTube channel name, but I don't know their name. And I need to take the time to make a list because I'll
Yeah.
never remember. And some
Yeah,
people have
me
already
too.
done this, so I got to make sure and do that.
And Dan was there.
Drone
What
worship.
is
Yeah.
drone worship, and he wasn't the a-hole that we always thought he was. He was pretty mellow. He's not a bad guy.
Yeah.
That's just his YouTube persona that turns us older folks off.
Yeah. I've talked with him behind the scenes, and there's times that he's really, really, he's an intelligent guy. And there's times he's really a decent guy. He just has that, like you said, us older people, sometimes we don't tolerate the young like we should. And we shouldn't have to.
Yeah.
We've earned our stripes. It's up to them to
Mhm.
start earning theirs.
Yeah.
All
I think
right.
you kind of,
Speaking of stripes, let's get into our first topic. I don't know. I didn't get to see the press conference, but I've been hearing little bits and pieces of it, and it really sounded bizarre. What say you two, Lloyd, Mike?
I ask Mike, because I'm probably at as much a loss as you are, and he probably paid more
yeah.
attention to it.
I made a point to watch it, and calling it a press conference is generous, because it's not at all what we've come to know as a press conference with with um with presidents past, like the press yelling at people and all that stuff. It was it really, I got the impression that the questions were designated ahead of time, and because he looked down and had a list of people to call from, and they all read their questions from the pad of paper, just like during the campaign. And so he couldn't even handle that. He was really lost. And as much as it's funny in some way, it's really
sad.
frightening in another, in that Joe Biden does not seem to have control of his faculties, and some puppet master, and I don't believe it's Kamala Harris. It might be Susan Rice.
I think it's Hillary. Or Susan Rice, you might be right.
Or Obama or somebody behind the scenes is really, directing him. And it's sad on a personal level for him, but for, it's worse for our nation. And China sees this, the Russians sees this, the Iranians see this, and that is pretty scary stuff.
Yes, it is. And he didn't take any questions from Fox News or any conservative outlets. It was all from, and these were all pre-screened reporters, and they were all given, the okays of what questions to ask. I think the only really tough question he got was about the kids down at the border, and he gave some rambling, convoluted. And basically told them, no, we're not going to, you can't go down there, or you can't report on that. We'll get back to you.
Yeah, thank God for Ted Cruz and those other guys going down to the border and calling it out, taking their own video and photos and stuff with using phones, basically. But at least they came out. They even found a body floating in the Rio Grande, I guess, as they went down the river. It's a disgrace what's happening at the border in Texas and probably other border states as well.
Yeah. Where's the thugs from that were all over that thing down there when Trump was in president? They were all those the thug life from Congress, the OC or OT, whatever, Cortez, Ocasio-Cortez, whatever her name is, that knothead. Yeah. She was down there, and they were it's terrible down here. It's just terrible down here, But yet, you don't see him down there now, and it's far worse, And the reason it got better, because it was started out bad because that's what Trump picked up, and then he makes the agreements with Mexico and Central America and says, "Hey, we're not, this is the way it's going to be," and says, or else, and stopped it. Got it where it was manageable, and then President Doofus turns around and opens it all, but he just drops all the agreements, and then, I saw some of the pictures yesterday. It's just horrendous. Just horrendous.
It looks like something out of like a science fiction movie. It's almost like you need to see the photos because words don't do it justice when you say those kids are crowded in there.
Right.
They are like sardines in a can in certain areas, It's really bad.
Yeah, it is. It is. And going back to his press conference, he talked about the puppet master. I heard yesterday, no, what's the day? Sunday, so it's Friday. I heard Friday they're talking about, this is the third term of the Obama administration, because he apparently calls Obama 2 or 3 times a day to ask questions. It's like, when was the last time you've ever heard of a current president calling a previous one for advice on a daily basis? And
not only that, he calls Harris, President Harris.
He does it all the time.
Yeah, and now he's put her in charge of the border. The border. Yeah. The only time I ever saw something like that could have happened was back with Reagan and Ford, where they were negotiating at the convention, and there was talk by the Republicans as well as the Democrats in the press when they were negotiating. They ended up picking George Bush, 41. They ended up picking him as the vice president under Reagan, but they talked very seriously about Ford coming in and doing a co-presidency, because Ford was a former president and Reagan was this is when they were setting up the nominations. Reagan had it, but they were working it. Who did they want? Because in all honesty, a lot of the Republicans didn't trust Reagan because he was an outsider.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. We've heard this before, haven't we? Anyways. But so they thought they'd get Ford in there, who, by then people have started, after one term of Jimmy Carter, people have started saying, maybe we misjudged Ford. And so but now we got it now in these press conferences, like you said, this is what little bit I've heard is like, he's doing a speech and that's card number. Let's see, question. Oh yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Oh, and plus he didn't know the names of all the reporters, where Donald Trump knew every person's name.
Yeah.
And where Biden had to look on his little chart. And did you see how far apart those reporters were seating?
Yeah, well, that was by design, I think, too, to limit the amount that were there. I mean, why weren't they in the blue room where they usually were, where they just scream like hyenas like they did with President Trump during the COVID questions? There was no reason for that few people to be in that room.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, it's amazing during the COVID thing under Trump. Boy, all those reporters were able to get in there and still ask those questions, but now they want to, 5 or 6 they have, spread them out, and like, oh, we're following COVID procedures. It's not that we don't want reporters in here. We're following COVID procedures.
Right. Boy, that's a convenient excuse nowadays.
Absolutely.
A lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, and getting back to the kids at the border, they're not doing DNA testing. Nobody knows who these kids are related to.
Right.
Where under Trump they did DNA and they knew the families. And now they don't know if these kids have any family here in the United States, and we don't know the families in their home countries.
Right.
So it is a major disaster. And they make it sound like, oh, well, they're escaping poverty. Well, yeah, but they're still under the thumb of the drug cartels. These kids are mules for the drug cartels. So they make it sound like, we're so cruel, we're not letting these kids in. And it's like, we don't know anything about what kind of diseases they may be carrying. We don't know if they have COVID or if they have TB or other infectious diseases that may have brought with them.
Some of them, because they're having to change the process, or they've had to change the process, and they're just releasing people without court dates. A few of the people that have been released when they got the test back, they tested positive for COVID, but they were already in the country and long gone. It's like, it's just, I think about, and Trump got into a lot of trouble for this, and I saw what our Drone Life RC wrote. Sometimes I think Trump could have tweeted a little less, and he should have, but you respect him for what he did, the thing. Oh, where is that? But a squirrel moment. I was going somewhere. There we, oops. Yeah. Anyways, when he was telling, I don't know, AOC or somebody, Trump was telling him, well, instead of complaining, how bad it is over there, why don't you fix, he basically said, fix your country and then go, but in other words, why don't you go back to the country of origin, that your family is from? Go there and help them fix it. Don't, you don't have to go, don't go back where you came from, but go, if it's so bad, why don't you go back and help them fix it instead of bringing them all here and just bringing our country down? Go down there and fix those countries. We could do something to help Mexico. Maybe annex it and then do away with the drug cartel. Like our war on drugs has been all that good too. But anyways, you can't fix corruption, and it's sad that these kids are having to go through this, but there's a process for bringing them into the country and opening the, finish building the wall, finish, shut down the gate, and if we have to work in a, work with the Mexican government and build a holding center, a processing center that is on the other side of the wall, but we build something help them not build it ourselves, but help them build a processing center that we can expedite this, but they have to stop it at the other end of the country. They can't just let them flood up there and say, oh, hey, we've got a crisis here. This is a refugee camp. And that's what this has turned into down on our border. It's nothing that it's like a Middle Eastern refugee camp down there.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds
the problem
like
with that, Lloyd, is the cartel and the Mexican government are both the same.
Yeah.
Because the cartels, they own the government down there. Because politicians are afraid to say anything. Otherwise, not only will they be killed, but their families will be killed. And they've gotten so powerful down there And not only that, they're bringing in not only meth and marijuana, but the Chinese are pumping fentanyl through Mexico. And that's how the Chinese are making money both ways, off of products that we're buying and off the drugs that they're smuggling into our country that are killing our kids.
Yeah.
What say you, Mike?
Well, we're definitely, financing the cartels in a sense, also with the incentives to come here, and the human trafficking. From when I don't know where the people who are being brought in have to pay these cartels a certain amount of money. I have no idea where they're getting that money. If they're in such poverty, but and I get, it's insane. And even the president of Mexico was saying, it seemed like we had a pretty good arrangement where they were being held on the other side of the border and processed or told to go home. But at least they weren't allowed in country and dropped off in cities northbound, just let go. And that's what they're doing now. In terms of the Chinese and us financing them, we do it through so much of our trade. And even on a personal level, none of us can really get away from, saying, "Oh, I'm not going to buy any more Chinese-made stuff." It's impossible. But at the same time, I have a little less trouble getting excited about new DJI stuff these days. I just sit there, and there's part of me that says, skip it, because even though DJI is not necessarily communist China, but nothing happens in communist China without the approval of the government, and certainly some of the money is going to the government.
Yeah, they have to. DJI is partially owned by the Chinese. All of those companies over there are, that's what communism is. And even though they use boy, I'm having squirrel moments all day.
It's kind of a pseudo-capitalistic society.
Yeah, pseudo-capitalist. Even though they have a sort of a capitalist economy, the ownership is still, and that's predominantly for, well, it's internal too, but it's predominantly for export, and their world economy, maybe I should say, is more capitalist. But each one of those companies, a percentage is owned by the government. Same in Mexico. I mean, the only fuel you could buy down there years ago was Pemex, Petroleus Mexicanos, which was the Mexican government. Everything was owned by the government. The little mom and pop stores, that wasn't, but they had to pay. They had to pay fees. Street vendor fees. It's if you've never been down into Mexico, I'm not talking about just Tijuana and Nogales and places like that, just the border towns. You haven't been down in there. This was back in the 70s. You cross from one state to the other. Well, you met you'd meet dogs too, but you'd meet the border cross. We're talking going from one state to the other, and it's like going from Texas to Oklahoma. Down there, you would meet police officers, and always had to slip because I went down there with my father-in-law, and he was a minister, and I think he was taking a car down there to donate, and it was full of Bibles. I rode with the preacher. He was a Mexican national down. He lived down there, and we had to bribe the cops to get Bibles in. And it's just. But I went on one time. I went on one end of town. I had to pay to get in. It was a donation. They were out there with the fire boot. It was a donation. Got to the other end of town, and I had to pay to get out of town. And I said, no. Get on the radio. I paid it. I paid coming in. I'm not paid going back out. Different cops. It's just like that's the way they have run for years.
Yep.
And you got sort of China. It's the same thing, except something goes to the government.
Right.
Like the old Bobble Black Sheep. You know, is let's see what 3 bags full. One for the dame. Anyways, what it was, it's talked about how you had to pay tax. One was to the church, one was to the king, and one was to the man down the lane, who was the landlord, his lordship, whose land you. Well, China's the same way. They're paying their 3 bags full, and like you said, can't get excited about DJI stuff because why should I give money to their economy? Yeah, every chip in my computer, all these screens, they're all Chinese. We can't get away from it. I mean, this hat's probably made in China.
Yeah, go look.
No, it's not a Chinese hat. It's made in Bangladesh.
Oh, okay.
It's funny. I was looking at something the other day, just out of curiosity. Where was it made? It wasn't made in China, where I thought it was going to be, but it was made in Mexico. It's amazing how much of our stuff is made in Mexico nowadays.
Yeah.
Well, did you know that Fender guitars are made in Mexico, Singapore, and Korea?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And same with Gibson guitars. I think they're made in Singapore or Korea, because there's when I was in the Philippines, I just happened to go through a music store and I saw what I thought were Gibsons with a different brand name on it. So it was probably made in Asia. They just put a different nameplate on it.
Yeah, I think with a lot of products, they're made overseas for their day in day out products, and only for the very upper end things will it be actually American made.
Yeah.
Like clip speakers.
Chris had a
good
point. Why can't USA make these products? It's because of the cost of labor here, and that's because a lot of those products are from companies that are unionized. And if you don't know, like, for example, auto union make workers, I think the lowest wage is like $37 an hour. And that is why they want to raise the minimum wage, because if they raise the minimum wage, that automatically raises union wages. Because, their argument is, they're saying, well, gee, why are these people, they're getting a raise, we should be getting one too. Right. So it's only to placate unions, which are big contributors to the Democrat Party. And so it's basically kind of like, it's just a circle of money. It goes from this hand to that hand and back to this hand.
Yeah, I think some of those union wages are actually indexed off minimum wage. If minimum wage goes up, it's almost automatic,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we had, even, it's Syracuse, New York, but we had a General Motors plant here, not making the finished car, but, different parts are made all over the place.
Right.
And the last one that we had was a company called New Process Gear. And, those guys had sweet jobs making $30, $40 an hour. And I knew some of them personally. And from what I understand, a great many of them would find a corner and just sleep during the day, the auto workers. The jobs and the contracts were fulfilled, but there was so much fat in the costs of things, where these guys for $30 to $40 an hour would nap pretty much for almost their entire 8-hour shift and not have to do a thing.
Well, it's like we have paper mills in Oklahoma. We have a couple of them, and one of them is it used to be Fort Howard. I can't remember what it's called. Georgia Pacific. Okay. Well, those guys, like on a 3-day weekend. This was back 20 years ago. On a 3-day or 4-day holiday weekend, they get holiday pay for in double time and triple time. And if they were in that sweet spot where they were also, because they did this rotating 7-shift weird combination the way they did their days, basically they, out of 28-day period, they're off 14 of those days. But they're getting paid, and they're, of course, they're putting in 12-hour shifts, but they were getting sometimes quadruple time to make butt wipe paper. And they were earning back then $24 to $26 an hour on some of those weekends. There was times they could do a 1 day, like a 4th of July, if it fell just right. That was a week's wages on 1 day. Now, do we really need to pay, because they train? You don't have to be, a lot of it's automated. You just got to sit there and make sure you grab the stack of the rolls of toilet paper, or it's all, but or sometimes you got to shovel the stuff into the recycler and the slurry and all that to make the paper. But do you really have to pay that kind of money? Our cops don't get that kind of money, and yet this is why we can't make stuff in the United States, because it's just not cost effective because I guarantee you, if they said, okay, no more stuff from overseas, we're making every single minutia part, but we can't afford to pay you these ridiculous wages. We're going to back it down and make it so that every company across the board, high skilled jobs, exactly, yeah. But we're going to make it level across the board today. We're going to have a fair minimum wage where companies can make a profit. See, that's the other thing. If a company makes a profit, God forbid, they're just evil, So, but they've got to make some profit. Let's cut back on paying the presidents, a $300,000 bonus for underperforming. Let's give him a $5,000 bonus if he meets his quota at the end of the month or at the end of the year. Here's okay. But I guarantee you, nobody's ever going to be elected running on that platform.
Right.
Right,
and it would take what the transfer of our production overseas is happened over decades, and it can't be reversed overnight either, and it'll never be reversed totally. Nobody's going to make those little plastic parts and stuff here for any kind of cost-effective amount. But President Trump
was sitting there with their little 3D printers,
right. But I mean, it's like, in mass, injection molded pieces and stuff. It would take so long to get things back, and all of a sudden a refrigerator would cost you, instead of $1,200 or whatever, it would cost you $5,000 for an average refrigerator. So there's certain things that we've lost, but we're also just we're allowing ourselves to just get taken advantage of in so many ways, from so many angles, and it's almost like a death by 1,000 cuts. And the Chinese now know, as evidenced by that meeting up in Alaska, they don't even have to hide it anymore. What their true intention is, the amount of aggression they showed with our Secretary of State, I believe it was, who was up there, was incredible. That they were supposed to be limited to like 2 or 5 minute speeches, and the guy went like 18 minutes or something like that, which clearly was by design because he was reading it. Just kind of in your face. We're not afraid of you anymore, America. We don't even respect you at all. We're playing by our rules now.
That's true.
Yeah.
Alrighty,
Alice, what's your
so
start?
off to our next topic. Early last week, we had a shooting up here in Boulder, Colorado, at a King Soopers, where a young man, 21-year-old Ahmad Alawi Alyssa, of Denver, or not Denver, but of Arvada, Colorado, which
Arvada,
is
yeah.
where I live, wearing a bulletproof vest, carried a Ruger AR-556 and a semi-automatic pistol, went in and started shooting people out in the parking lot and then into the store. He shot an elderly man and then stood over him and shot him a few more times, and then walked in and shot up the place. He killed a total of 10 people, including one a police officer who was killed, and they were able to bring down this guy when he was wounded in the leg, which wasn't protected by any body armor. So he's in police custody. They have no motive at all. But from what I've been hearing from this young man's family, that he had mental issues, and they always say that when it's someone else, a white guy.
If it's an old fat white guy or middle-aged white guy, he's a racist. But the fact that this guy is of Arab descent or Middle Eastern descent, I should say, suddenly they found all of these. They found all these people saying, "Well, he's always been a little off. He used to sitting over at the corner at Thanksgiving dinner, yeah."
Allah Akbar.
Yeah. And so he's got all these problems. Guaranteed, if it's somebody like the three of us, oh yeah, let's get. Of course, the first rally cry was, as Chris Wedgeworth, "If only guns were illegal."
Yep. Yeah. And the scary thing is, what happened with the red flag law? If this guy had mental issues, how was he able to get a firearm? Why didn't his parents or whatever family members, say something? I mean, he only had the gun for about a week, and he passed all the the background check and everything because he had no arrests, he had no mental checks on him, so he passed all the background checks, and now these idiots in the Colorado state government, they want to put more restrictive gun laws on the books like that. Oh yeah, that's going to stop it. I mean, the red flag law didn't even stop the shooting.
Yeah, the I've heard everything from he was bullied to mental issues, but I also have heard he did have some connections with extremist groups as well. But those things intersect, because in extremist contacts on the internet or whatever will play off of somebody with some mental issues who's doesn't have any friends, doesn't have any contacts, looking to belong to something, and that's the perfect person to recruit, for something like that. So I did hear that he did have some, extremist, Islamist type contacts.
Yeah.
But you're not going to hear that in the mainstream media. Because, first off, we don't want to make assumptions. That would be racist to make those assumptions that this guy was of Middle East. I'm sorry, as soon as I saw the picture of him as they were taking it, first shot I saw of that, I turned over to Judah and I said, that guy's from, he's of Middle East descent, He's
Mm-hmm.
he's Arabic of some time, or he's
Mm-hmm.
Arab of some time. And if I didn't think any more about it and let it go. And it's like, because actually, when they were dragging him out from the shot, who was it? It was over in I don't know if it was in Iraq or in Afghanistan. The he was I think he was one of Saddam Hussein's advisors. They drug him up, and he's wearing a ratty T-shirt and his hair's sticking out. And it's I can't remember who that was. It's one of the
Yeah,
designers
that
of.
was Saddam Hussein when they pulled him out of that
Was
spider
that
hole.
that's who that guy looked like from the back? It looked like. I thought that guy was dead. Didn't they hang him or execute him or something? Oh no, that's a new guy. I wonder if he's of the Middle East.
Ah.
And
Mhm.
yeah, hairy guy. Yeah, that's it. Do what?
Oh, and then Denver school board member Tay Anderson, by the way, only 22 years old, doesn't have a job, was elected on the Denver school board, who's a flaming leftist and a racist. He tweeted out that, he must be white because they didn't shoot him, they didn't kill him.
It's
I mean,
it's
and
ridiculous.
this guy is on the Denver school boards saying stuff like that.
Right.
Isn't it funny that they can have blacks only TV channels, BET, Black History Month, Black History Day, black only clubs, and yet we're called racist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right. It's so much of it is just not real. It's like an alternate universe type of stuff. I mean, I'm not racist, but I speak, kind of bluntly about racial things. I like to joke. I'll tell an Irish joke, a Polish joke, or a black joke. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings or be inappropriate about it, but sometimes a joke is a joke. But nowadays, especially now, since in the last year, the whole BLM thing, everything now is racism, man. What is it? They're saying mathematics is racism now. In universities, and 20 years ago, you would hear someone like Louis Farrakhan bragging about how the ancient Egyptians were the first mathematicians. And now all of a sudden mathematics is a white construct.
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
Well, that's like they're saying that, well, maybe blacks aren't smart enough to handle mathematics, so it must be racist. I'm like, what kind of idiotic thinking is that?
Yeah.
Well, it's like I heard one of the best analogies about why they do this. For example, they talked about that the Senate uses it, the filibuster. Okay. The filibuster throws back to the Jim Crow days, Well, the reason they put stuff out there, if it's racist, no Democrat can support it, because if it's racist, it's bad. And even though President Biden himself used the filibuster when he was a senator, now he says, it needs to be done away with. Kamala Harris, same thing. She used it too. But it needs to be done away with because it's racist. It's that's their key to getting rid of stuff. Let's call it right. That's the key to the left getting rid of stuff, because this way, if you put a racist label on it, no Democrat, moderate, no Republican should. Of course, the Republicans will probably vote against whatever, but no Democrats would, in good conscience, vote for anything that's racist. So slap a racist label on it, and we got Democrat support, because what Democrat's going to go out there and say, it's not racist? They're not.
Oh, by the way, didn't Biden say he was in the Senate for 120 years?
I
Did you
caught
see
that.
his eyes open up when he said, "Yeah, I'm running again"?
And he
You
said
know,
that
if
with a
he
straight face.
if
Like
he
at first I
actually
thought,
served out
is he
another term,
joking?
he'd be 86 years old. He'd be the
Ah,
oldest president in history.
Yeah,
And that scares me.
yeah.
yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
And then
It's
he talked about Jim Crow and saying that the filibusters is more like Jim Eagle.
Right.
I heard that and I was
His
like,
analogies are awful.
what
Oh man.
is he talking about? It's like, you know, ah,
And that was
I
man.
pre-written. That was a planned,
yeah.
word.
Mhm.
Well, it's okay to have puns and jokes, if you can deliver them. But if you can't, if you can't deliver a good joke, just don't try.
Mhm.
I think about, I don't know how many people saw it, but it was the debate between uh Trump and Biden as
Right.
directed by uh
Chris
I'm
Wallace.
having a terrible time. No, 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 no. It was Jeff Dunham.
Yeah.
His
Oh.
debate is Walter versus Walter. One is
Oh,
Biden, one,
okay.
and every time Biden would make a stupid statement, is he had a shock collar on, and you could see his wife was back there pushing the shock collar. See, that's what they've done. His batteries ran out on a shock collar, and they're not able to trigger him.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
and I could see she's back there. Dead burn batteries aren't working. Come on, come on. Oh, we got him. Oh man, that was at the wrong time, right in the middle of his joke.
It really is frightening,
It's
though,
sad.
when you think of it, and
It's frightening.
Mhm.
it's sad on his personal level. But boy, man, for our country, at this early point, he's only been in 2 months, and
Yeah,
and then he does this press conference. So now they got that out of the way, so they can hide him for another 2 months without. Well, we just had a press conference. What do you want? Kind of thing, and sign everything that's put in front of him. And it really scares me for, thankfully some of the people around him aren't complete flaming liberals, like there are some people who seem to want to hold up a pretty good stand against Chinese aggression and stuff. But, there is no leadership. I mean, whoever's
Yeah, that's
really, and then how long will he stay in? I don't think he'll make a year. I can't see it.
No, I don't think so either. After hearing about how badly he did at this press conference, but did you notice right at the 1 hour mark he walked right off?
Yeah.
You know, it was
yeah.
like there must have been a clock at the other end of the room where he looked up. Oh, 1 hour, I'm done.
Right.
Yeah.
Or somebody like a floor director or somebody giving him the signal, get off the floor.
Yeah.
Obviously there was lots of staffers around and things like that.
Well, as they do in comedy, we would get a light at the back of the room.
Yeah.
We'd get it, the house light would flash once, and then if you went on any longer, you got a red light, and then if you really went over, the room went dark.
Yeah. I've seen that
That's
happen.
how they did it on open mic night at the
Didn't they just
comedy
use the
club.
hook for you, Art?
I never got that far to where they turned out the lights. I always was pretty good to look out for the
You notice
little
he said he never
light.
got that far because they usually shut him down after the second joke. So yeah, okay. Then we got more time for the next guy. Sorry, Art.
One thing.
All right, so
go
on
ahead.
our last topic, we had a cargo ship get a little stuck in the Suez Canal. It kind of reminded me of Austin Powers when he got that golf cart stuck in that hallway. kind of reminded me of that, where maybe that ship was, oh shit, we missed the turn. Let's turn around. And they're going, oh crap, we're stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty frightening thing to have the Suez Canal shut down.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and like you mentioned earlier, Art, like the implications trade wise, oil price wise, of having that waterway shut down. I mean, you know, it's a man-made waterway, and otherwise you just got to bring things out through the Mediterranean, right? That's the only other exit out of there, right into the Atlantic.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you know, and whether that was intentional, whether it was an accident, is still really yet to be determined. They said it was the wind or something like that, but that's not a certainty yet.
Whose ship was it?
I think it was Taiwanese ship, wasn't it? I'll have to look it up.
Yeah, because that's the other thing. That's the other question. You know, whose ship was it? You know, and what was his country of origin? You know, or country. Actually, you want to know the country of registration, because that way, you know where the finger really needs to be pointed. And you know, hey, we all lived through the 70s. You know, remember when the Suez Canal was shut down then? You know,
yeah.
And, you know what's? I was thinking back. You know, we're griping about gas prices, okay, and we are now at, I think, $2.79 a gallon now, where in November of this last year we were at $1.69. You know, actually we're at $2.89, so we've gone up $1.20. Now there are a lot of mitigating factors. A lot of the refineries got shut down because of COVID. You know, we have, well, for one thing, everybody was sitting at home and not going anywhere.
Right.
They decreased oil production in the Middle East. You know, and then we got President Goofball and Vice President what's her name. But anyways, you know, so you've got the idiot twins at the White House and trying to guide this country onto a better tomorrow or whatever. And yeah, we all, you know, Mike, we all knew the gas price were going to go up, especially canceling, you know, the XL pipeline, which I'm waiting to see a lot of these lawsuits, because there are, oh my God, there's just tons of them just dropping right now, left and right, lawsuits against the president, against the, you know, against the administration. Right. We'll see, you know, but because one, those are government contracts. You can't just, you know, one man can't just sit there and, I don't want it, you know.
Yeah.
Life sucks being you. That's not the way the contract was negotiated.
Yeah.
And
that's right.
That's why there's lawsuits, because he's violated those contracts, you know. And
both on the pipeline and the wall.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, those are done deals.
You know what's really funny is he's not okay with the Keystone XL pipeline, but he's okay with the pipeline going across Turkey to take oil to Europe. He's okay with that.
Right. Yeah.
He's not making a big stink about that and demanding those Turkish people, you can't have that pipeline.
Yeah. But, you know, going back to this Suez thing, okay, Rodney.
All right, take care,
Rodney. Have fun with your grandkids.
See you, Rodney. Have a good time.
Absolutely. Yeah. But going back to Suez, back in the 70s, when I was working part-time when I was in the Air Force, I was working part-time for Phillips Petroleum. Our generic stations were selling gas for $2.20 a gallon. This was in the 70s. You know what that is like today? You know, that we're talking, that's $5 a gallon.
Right, easily.
You know, for the generic stuff, you know. I mean, my God, I think I was getting like $625 a month. So, $2.20 a gallon, and this was the 70s. We didn't get no 20 miles a gallon,
Yeah, that's
well, I
true.
drove a Chevy Vega, which she was broke down most of the time, so I got pretty good gas mileage, I got to
We
tell you
didn't
something.
break $1 until like the early 80s, right? Or so for gas prices. When did they finally hit $1?
Well, let's
Was
see.
it late 70s or early 80s?
No, it was, well, some places in Arizona, in during the Suez shutdown, during the Carter oil shortage, I should say, it did hit over $2 a gallon in a lot of places, but especially out west, which is kind of stupid. But then it dropped, and it dropped back, and it stayed below a dollar a gallon for a long time.
Yeah.
And then I'm thinking 93, it dropped again, and I remember Judy was working up in Tulsa, and we had an apartment up there, had this house here, and I was paying 89 cents a gallon up there. That was in 93.
Right.
And then so it's jumped depending on, well, who's in charge, who's not in charge.
Right. 'Cause we can all remember $4 prices, and not just in cities like LA and stuff like that, but
No.
cities like here, where it was pretty much $4 a gallon. And then they did that cash for clunkers thing under Obama, which was a joke,
Right.
A joke. Yeah.
Yeah. And now it's still about $2.80 to $3 a gallon, depending on where you are.
Same here.
Unless you're in Los Angeles, and it's $5 a gallon, or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's like it's still relatively good right now, but the economy is picking up. Like I said, that's one mitigating circumstance. But but the pipeline issue, the Suez Canal issue, one refinery going out of operation. All it takes is to put us, where we were pretty much energy independent, pretty much to the point of now we're really compromised again.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's hurting. We were in such good shape until this.
Yeah. That's right, Lloyd. Yeah.
I can't say what I want because I'm trying to keep it semi-family friendly,
And layered over all this stuff is the shadow of COVID too. It's like all we need is a spike, so called, and all of a sudden we're yanked back, to wherever they want us to be. And that to me is frightening. And I know you saw it, Art. I just put a thing up on Facebook. It's like the amount of freedom that we've given up in the last year voluntarily, like letting it go, and is frightening and also the lack of concern by the basic citizenry that we've given up that freedom.
I know.
It really scares me that and I've got family members I really don't talk with about it because we'll have an argument like they just are worried about cute cat pictures on Facebook as opposed to like, your civil liberties, you give them up enough, they're not coming back. And
that's right.
In New York State now they're introducing a phone app, which is going to be basically a COVID passport. And it's voluntary now, but voluntary to the extent of, well, you won't be able to get into the ballpark unless you've got your phone app.
Show us your papers. You have your papers.
Yeah,
papers, please.
You got to have your papers. You have your COVID papers.
Yeah,
you may enter.
I asked, were they going to
span of a year?
Oh yeah,
1 year.
Yeah, 1 year. It's just amazing. Yeah.
And someone like Cuomo, thank God for these red state governors, because somebody like Cuomo, I mean, that guy was like a little Caesar type of guy. He was so drunk with power. He's in trouble now, so it looks like the power is going to be taken away. But man, that guy, he wasn't going to let go. And let things go back to normal.
I'm going to disagree with one thing you say about Como. I think calling him Little Caesar is an insult to cheap but good pizza.
Yep.
Or to Edward G. Robinson.
Now here in Colorado, we're controlled by Democrats right now. All the states around us are dropping their mask mandates. And I wouldn't be surprised that in a week or so, our illustrious governor will say, well, even though the COVID cases are going down, we should keep the mask mandate going for another 30 days.
Yeah.
And by the way, last weekend he held the Meatless Day, which turned out to be a big boon for the cattle industry.
Right. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
So
yeah,
foolish.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's.
And what's really scary now? There's a petition going around to put on the ballot to for the cattle industry to humanely treat your agriculture animals. Like your sheep, your cows, and so you gotta humanely cull these animals before they go. And it's like, you know what that's going to do? That's going to kill the cattle industry here in Colorado. Even Nebraska is like, oh boy, that is a really stupid idea.
Yeah.
And it's going to ruin not only cattle, but chickens and pigs and sheep. It's going to
all the
kill
politically incorrect stuff.
Yeah.
I hope they treat the fish at the sushi bar humanely as well, because even though that's fashionable, they may have to be humanely treated as well.
Yeah. Oh, and you know what else is really scary? There is another animal rights group that wants to bring back the wild beaver to Colorado.
I'm not going there, Art. We went there once before. I'm not going there.
I'll stand right behind that movement.
Yeah, I knew that's where we were going.
Well, we live in a surreal times, and obviously the 20th century was full of surreal times. 2 world wars, the Cold War.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing's new under the sun in a way, but we're in uncharted waters, I guess, all the time throughout history. But
yeah, it's just talking about the cattle industry
and back to the Cubist movement, and then let's say Dada will be back.
Yeah,
gotta forget about it.
In case you don't know what I'm talking about, is we're talking about the different art movements that started right after World War One, which was it was the surreal movement, and then there was anyway.
Right.
What it was a plan for all those unemployed artists. Let's make a new style. Finger paint. Oh, look, it's a Picasso.
Right.
Well,
I mean, have you really looked at Picasso's
going
stuff?
on another tangent? We're doing this Art's Place. We're talking art critique right now. Is that was all about 3-dimensional painting. They wanted to, and this is funny. I watched this channel called The Great Time Ghost, and they've got a bunch of series on history, and they're doing the interwar period, and they're talking about art, and they're talking about the Dada movement, the Cubist, and the surreal movement, and that was quite interesting. Okay.
Again,
all right, so
Picasso was crap.
It
makes no sense.
And you know what? And that's how the older generation looked at those movements as what? What the? Huh?
Yeah. Give me a.
But that that
Makes
was
you want to cut your
the
ear off.
modern era started.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Cutting your ear off. Yeah.
Van
Yeah.
Gogh.
Van Gogh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know
It's like,
what's funny is I would be happy if we go back to that compared to who's that idiot that had the Christ piss where he had this
What was
the
his name in the 90s
crucifix
there?
in a
oh,
jar of urine.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I'd be happy with the Cubist movement. And
Yeah.
I forget his name. He's dead now. I think he died
Yeah.
of AIDS.
I hope his coffin was filled with piss. Anyway,
well, a little edgy there, Art.
I know I'm having a
Said he-
Dan moment.
It's the way he
Well, I should
wanted.
have laughed. Yeah.
Hmm. But he's well preserved. He's pickled. Anyway, all right. We're getting a little wacky here at the arts place.
Oh, as we digrade.
Well, if it
I
were
think,
full
I
of
think
that
you had too
substance,
much fun.
I'd be willing to volunteer some of mine.
Oh, okay. Oh, by the way, Mike, I want to thank you so much for that super chat yesterday or last
Oh,
night.
you're welcome.
That's
It's like, I just, I know that trip to Florida had to cost you a good penny and all that stuff. And that's like, figure what the heck, I haven't been doing anything. I got an extra few bucks. I'll send them your way.
That Florida thing it's generated so much. It's just like a ripple effect. And, unfortunately, I think a lot of it came just right after we lost Rick Halber.
Yeah.
And that brought things to the forefront, and it really became more of a dedication to Rick than anything else. And that just shows you the influence of one man. If one guy who quietly sits back and watches our channel, if he can influence all of us, like Doc Murdoch took time out of, Chris, he took time out of his life to go down there and then go back up and meet up with people,
right.
And he said it on that interview I did with him, we need to get together and have these little meetups,
Right.
And if one guy can influence this many people, think what if each one of us just, took a little time out of our day to hey, reach out to somebody, help somebody, and I think that meetup was a great thing because the ripple effect, just kept, it's like somebody, sort of like Rick dropped a pebble in the lake and it's just spread out, and it's still going. It's still going.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the videos that we all did.
I love that one.
And then Matt took the time to get everybody to send them a clip, and almost every continent of the world. I don't think Africa or Asia was represented, but so many people: Australia, Ireland, the Netherlands, all over the U.S.
Yeah.
And it's like, and all the different type of people, like young, older, FPV, bearded guys, clean cut guys, you name it, all in the same boat.
Yep.
Yeah. It was it was an unbelievable thing, it really was. All that, and I think Matt did a fantastic job.
Yes, he did. Yeah. He did a really good job. And
it was
my video.
I think it was Tim Jackson. It was his idea, I think.
Oh, okay.
Tim Jackson. Yeah.
I wanted to show, the tiny hawk.
Right.
Rick gave me that.
Rick is, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
that's what you used in your video, yeah.
Right.
In your video, yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It was it just shows that no matter. I think that video, the meetup down in Florida, and the repercussions from that. They had a right on its heels this weekend. They had one down in Texas.
Yep.
And people like Doc Murdoch traveling to different places to meet up with all of us. It just shows you that we, as just average people, our connection is through drones, but we as average people, this minutia that's going on in Washington, as much as we gripe about it, and we raise hell about it, and we're worried about it, it goes to show you that, hey, we put that stuff aside and we're still Americans, in our case. God, and I use this, I hate to say this, but we're droners, me being a vlogger, that's it. But there's video evidence out there now that I do fly. So I have to suck it up a little bit and say, yeah, we're droners. Yeah, I know. Yeah. I didn't realize, because I was concentrating on flying, I didn't realize he'd got that picture of me, or I knew he was videotaping it, but that picture he sent to Kelly, or that he had there down there, and they showed of me holding my drone, my tablet. It's like, so when I put it in my video, I did a screen capture and stole it off of Kelly's show and put it in. Yeah. Hopefully Kelly don't give me a copyright strike for stealing off of his live show, but I don't think he will. Yeah.
No.
Well, guys, we did an hour and 15, and I want to thank you guys for coming in. Mike, it was a pleasure having you back again. And
thank you.
Lloyd, well,
I know you're stuck with me. Yeah, I could sleep in some. I could be taking a nap right now, Art. So I just want you. But I'd heard rumors that Mike was going to be here, so I decided not to take a nap just for Mike. If it's just been you and me, Art, I'd have let you wing it on your own.
Well,
all
bye
right,
to
everybody in the chat, thanks for coming. Stay tuned. We'll be back next week. God bless this great country, United States, and Colorado and Oklahoma and, well, New York. Have a great Sunday. Catch you next time. Next week is Easter, so are we doing a show next week?
Whatever you say, Art.
Yeah,
I won't make any promises. I heard rumors that my kids might be doing a cookout.
Okay.
If I can get free food, don't have to cook for Judy, I may go.
We'll figure it out. Oh, and a week from Saturday, birthday show for Artco Drone Solutions, number 3. So that'll be a special show. Thanks, everybody in the chat. We'll catch you next time. See ya.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.